Good afternoon and welcome to the University of Michigan School of Information Master of Applied Data Science live Q&A. My name is Amy Homkes-Hayes, Assistant Director of Academic Program Development in the School of Information and MADS team member. I'm very excited to be here today with two of our MADS faculty who will introduce themselves and then answer your questions for those of you who have been conditionally admitted to the MADS program. And in fact, as an email notice indicated, for our first half an hour, we're exclusively with our conditionally admitted students. Qiaozhu, would you like to start?
Sure, absolutely. Hi, I'm Qiaozhu. I'm a professor at the School of Information here. I am the faculty director of the MADS degree, so I'm so happy to work with you, not just now, but 2 years ahead to help you enjoy our degree.
I'm Chris Brooks. I'm an assistant professor here in the School of Information. I'll actually be teaching one of the classes in September, data manipulation. So one of the first courses you'll be taking, and another course in November, visual exploration of data.
So as I indicated before, for the first half an hour, from now until 3:30 p.m., we are exclusively offering access to this webinar for those of you who are joining us who've been conditionally admitted to the MADS program. We're very excited for you to matriculate into the MADS program, and we're enthused to take your questions about all things MADS related. So that could include curriculum, questions on the courses, the trajectory of the degree, who will be teaching the classes, our delivery, as well as questions that you may have on finalizing the admissions process. So to start, Chris and Qiaozhu, we had one person who asked a question about machine learning. More specifically, they were interested in knowing how much or little our degree will offer machine learning courses or machine learning opportunities. Can you both speak to that?
Sure, I can speak in general. So our program has a very complete and rigorous curriculum about machine learning. If you look at our curriculum, we have 4 courses that you can identify machine learning in the title. Those are supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning pipeline, and deep learning. And we also have quite a few courses that are related, very much related to machine learning. We have upstream courses of machine learning, like data mining, where you extract features from big data. And those features can then be used as features to build your machine learning algorithm. And then we have downstream classes of machine learning, such as natural language processing, such as information retrieval, such as network access, where you actually make use of machine learning techniques to actually build stuff to deal with a large variety of applications. So I'd say that we have 1/3 of our curriculum is related to machine learning.
And maybe I'll just share in there that we have 3 capstone courses or milestone courses that are worth multiple credits planned. The first one probably includes very little machine learning, but the next 2, I expect the projects that you complete there actually have a lot of hands-on work doing machine learning. And so that's a place where it's not a machine learning course per se, but you'll be enacting what you learned in the other courses, the machine learning courses, in those capstones.
And what I'm hearing you say, Chris, is that the milestone courses and the capstone course will give MADS students an opportunity to delve more deeply into specific areas of interest. So although the degree itself doesn't offer, for example, concentrations within data science, the milestones and capstone course are a really great way for students, for example, that are interested in machine learning to take a more specific focus in it, or students that are interested in sports analytics or learning analytics or the use of social media data. That those capstones and milestones will give folks an opportunity to really specialize within areas that they're most interested in.
Yeah, and they're project-based. So the goal is to build up that portfolio that you might put out there when seeking employment afterwards.
Great. So I should have mentioned this before, but the reason I'm holding my phone is because this is where the questions are coming. So I'm not actually using my phone up here while hosting this webinar, other than to look at the questions. So for those of you that do have questions, please use the YouTube live chat feature, because that's what I have accessible right here. In an instance where you have a very specific question that either none of the 3 of us have the answer to, or perhaps is not relevant to the rest of the group, do know that we are happy to get back to you individually over email or phone or even in person if you live close by. So there's certainly other ways in which you can get your questions answered in an instance where the question can't be answered today. But the good news is I'm getting lots of questions that can in fact be answered right now. So another question that was posed was around the math requirements in the maths degree. So we do have a course, for example, called Math Methods, and then we will use the math taught in Math Methods in a number of other courses. So can you talk a little bit generally about the math, and then more specifically, can you address the ways in which the degree will use calculus and linear algebra?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So if you can see that in the entrance exams, we are testing the students' understanding about basic statistics, and that is equivalent to the in-house, standard stats requirement called stats 250. And then the reason that we have this mathematic method course is because we want to actually use that as the connector of the standard stat stuff to the advanced materials, right? So in the 4 weeks of the math method course, we will first give you the refreshment of basic linear algebra like matrix multiplication, matrix factorization, some basic probabilities statistics. And then we will spend time to talk about some stuff that will link you to the data mining and machine learning courses that we talked about. For instance, we will talk about gradient descent, a few optimization techniques. We'll talk about the base rule that is very useful in a few courses. We'll talk about how to actually make use of some of the math basic concepts. We will foreshadow how these concepts will be used in lots of courses. So we hope that will be a very good preparation for you.
Excellent. So what I'm hearing you say, Qiaozhu, and my understanding is that in order to be a successful math student, you don't necessarily have to be deeply versed in linear algebra, for example, or even have taken, per se, a college-level linear algebra course, but rather that you'll understand that there are certain concepts that are really salient to our program that our exposure to linear algebra and some specific concepts within it will give you access to. That
is correct. And in particular, we want you to understand the basic concepts of vectors, matrices. Basically, a matrix is the collection of vectors. How to actually calculate, matrix multiplication, right? How to, add, how to subtract, how to, compute the product of one matrix and another. And that's mostly enough before you come into the program, right? The maths course will help you understand other concepts like matrix factorization, how to write the matrix as the product of multiple matrices. And then later on, we will use these concepts in practice. So both of you are currently producing maths courses and will be teaching maths courses. And some of our conditionally admitted applicants are interested in knowing what the workload will be like. So Chris, can you talk to us a little bit about what you would anticipate the average workload to be in a maths course?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a University of Michigan graduate degree, and as such, the amount of effort and kind of expectations that we're putting is the same as we would on a residential graduate degree. And we follow the Rackham guidelines, our graduate school here at the university, of 9 to 12, roughly 9 to 12 hours per week per course. And so that's what we're largely designing the course around. So for instance, in the data manipulation course that I'll be teaching in September, there might be an hour, hour and a half in a week worth of lecture material. There might be up to 3 office hours that students could go to, and they might not have to go to all office hours. They might be able to review the office hours if they can't come synchronously. And then you might have, a couple of hours of readings, and then maybe 6 hours of programming assignment to work on. So I would say that looks like sort of an average week for a single course. And I think in the fall you're able to take up to 2 courses at once to begin with. And so that's the rough sense for amount of work. Of course, you have to tailor that. It's a personal experience, right? And so you might find that there's a lot of other things that you want to do in connection, getting involved with research, doing projects with peers, et cetera. So co-curriculars, that would take more time. Or you might find that you move through some of the content a little faster if you have a different level of preparation as well. So those are all just rough numbers.
That's great. So as you can imagine, one of the things that we've talked about with the MADS degree is that it's a flexible degree, that we're enabling students to take very few or very many credits a month once the program's fully running in order to facilitate, for example, working professionals or those folks that are going to school full time. Relatedly, we've had lots of students who've asked about the amount of group projects that will be a part of the degree. So I was hoping that either or both of you could speak to how we plan to incorporate an approach that's both sensitive to people working on their own while at the same time also giving them an opportunity to work in groups.
Absolutely. So, it depends on what courses you're taking, right? In some courses, there are group projects. In some courses, there are individual projects. For instance, in my data mining course, most homework assignments will be, individual homework assignments, right? But in a capstone course, for instance, there will be, group projects. And when you start a group project, there will be the phase that you get to know each other and you select topics, right? And that is the very nice period of time that that will help you find the right partner, and you find a partner that actually you are confident of working with. That will, of course, include factors like whether you're in the same time zone or whether you're interested in the same sector, right? Whether there are constraints of your commitment, and more importantly, whether you can actually work out as a team. Right?
Great. So speaking of different time zones, we have a couple of people who are wondering if you could talk a little bit more specifically about how we will address and accommodate folks that are living in different time zones. So Chris, could you talk a little bit about the structure that we anticipate employing?
Yeah, so we've been thinking about this quite deeply, actually, in part because we've done a lot on the Coursera platform before. So some of the things we're looking at are deadlines for assignments and how to make those deadlines so that they give everybody ample opportunity to complete assignments and make best use of their time. Another is with office hours, and so this isn't set for all courses, but we're looking to do roughly 3 hours worth of office hours per week for my course in the fall. And the goal is to vary those across time zones so that and days of the week, so that there's broad opportunity for people to participate. But with those office hours, there's not actually a requirement to watch it live either. So we want to encourage people to be able to time shift it. So you might be able to provide questions early and see the recorded response and it's shared with peers, or you might be able just to watch what other people have done. So we're trying to be very sensitive. We're using lots of different technologies as part of this degree to try and help with that. So Slack, for instance, is what we're using for communication between students and course assistants and potentially instructors and even administrators as well. So we're hoping that will help with some of the time shifting requirements.
That's great. So as we talk about the course structure, some of the tools that we'll use within the curriculum, as you can imagine, people are very excited about knowing what that first semester of courses will look like. And in fact, we do have available on our website the first semester of courses and brief descriptions for each of the courses that will launch. But that being said, we also, fortunately, are in front of 2 faculty that will be teaching courses in the fall semester. So I was hoping that you could talk to our admitted applicants a little bit more about what they have to look forward to as they start taking courses in September.
Do you want to start your courses first?
Sure.
Yeah.
So in September, there's 2 courses that are offered. The first one by Paul Resnick is Being a Data Scientist. And this course is mostly readings and discussion-based and writing-based. The focus of this course is to try and understand what this phenomena of data science is and what it means to be a data scientist. And I'll say 10 years ago, there were no data science departments, or few, no data science degrees, and now schools and universities are popping these up everywhere. And so I think this is a really good time for this class, and it'll help you determine, what are you trying to get out of this program and how might you specialize some of your investigation. Also in the first month in September will be the course that I'm teaching, Data Manipulation. And so this is all Python. And so we're going to we assume from your entrance exams that you have some Python knowledge, and we're going to jump right in and investigate things like regular expressions, beautiful soup and scraping web pages, and then pandas, pandas, pandas. So pandas is a passion of mine since teaching this MOOC on it. And so you'll get lots of experience with the pandas library, manipulating and cleaning data. I think then in October we move into math methods as one of the courses, and the other one information visualization. So taught by Eitan, yeah. In November, I'll be teaching a visual exploration of data. That's going to be Python-based visual exploration of data, and so trying to understand relationships between data and how to plot them, how to graph them, and how to make some sense out of them. We're going to talk about things like tree maps, heat maps, sploms. I love it's just a fun word, and just trying to understand how to gain some insight into your data.
And of course, in December, you will be taking my Data Mining 1 course. So we have 2 data mining courses. And the way that we design the data mining courses is quite innovative. We wanted to talk about how to actually deal with different genres of data in the wild. For instance, how to deal with item sets data, how to deal with sequence data, how to deal with matrix data, vector data, how to deal with time series data. Of course, we cannot talk about all of them in 4 weeks. So in the first data mining course, we will talk about 3 basic data types: how to discover knowledge from item sets, how to discover knowledge from matrix or vectors, and how to discover knowledge from sequence data. And when we're talking about that, we will talk about, of course, a variety of data mining functionalities. But we will particularly talk about 2 very basic functionalities, basically how to extract patterns and how to compute the similarity of your data objects. And trust me, even if you just know how to do those 2 simple things, you can already do lots of data mining functionalities. And then in the downstream machine learning courses, you can see that you can actually use the patterns you discovered and use the similarity you calculated as features, as inputs to more advanced machine learning algorithms. And then we have Christmas.
Yeah. I think it maybe is Dr. Teplov's class in that first semester as well. So if not, it's quick in the second semester.
It is, yep. So efficient, yeah.
We have a couple of
data
processing,
yep, and scalable data.
Scalable data.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
So that's the second one will include things like Spark and big data as well.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I love hearing the passion in both of your voices when you talk about data science. Not being a data scientist myself, I feel like I'm continually learning so much about the lingo and all things that is data science. And to that end, we've had a few people who have inquired about who this degree is appropriate for. So for example, we've had some people who've said, you know, I'm already within a discipline, like I'm an engineer, for example, is this degree right for me? And we've had other people who have said, I'm relatively new to a technical field and to some of the quant concepts that you're going to be delving into. Is this degree right for me? How would you answer that question?
That's a great question. So if you look at our curriculum, you can see that it's very different from other curriculum that you can see. And the way that we we construct the curriculum is the end-to-end pipeline of data science, and it's the application-driven pipeline of data science. So we're looking for students, and we hope that this would be the perfect program for you if you wanted to actually make use of data science techniques from the very end, that you can actually understand what can be defined as the data mining problems in your own context, in dealing with the tasks that you have in your business, to deal with your clients, how to actually abstract those problems into data science problems, and then how to gather data, how to process this big data, visualize them to actually get insights. And then move into the machine learning core, how to discover knowledge, how to make use of data, how to build models to do classification, to do clustering, to do predictions, right? To do more fancy, machine learning outputs. And then how to actually deal with different type of data in reality, how to use natural language processing, how to actually deal with network data, deal with social network data, right? How to deal with user behavior data, like search engine data, right? And then how to actually draw causal conclusions from the data, from the observations, and how to design experiments to test this hypothesis. And finally, we want to let you know how to actually get all these outputs of data science techniques into action, right? How to actually do your task better with this data mining, with this data science pipeline. So as long as you're interested in this complete pipeline, then I think this would be the perfect program of yours. Whether you have a background in computation or information is not important. Whether you are truly interested in learning analytics or sports analytics, or you're more interested in natural language processing, is also not a decisive factor of taking this degree. And what we want to give you is the opportunity to show that with data science, you can do your daily tasks much better than before.
That was well said. I think that for me, what really stands out is we're expecting a diverse, and I think we've seen from the applications, a diverse student body as far as background and interests. And so for me, this degree really, it's the applied nature of it that really speaks, that you'll be coming out of it with skills to apply these different techniques. So, I mean, it sounds really positive. We could talk about what it isn't as well. So this is not an advanced stats degree. And so if you really want to get in deep in kind of statistics, if you want, I sometimes use this as an example of what this program isn't. If you want to build the next machine learning algorithm, for instance, advanced AI, this is not the degree that is probably ideal to take you there. That would require several years at the master's or PhD level in computer science or statistics. But it's really for those who are interested in and have a broad background and interested in applying machine learning and applying data science.
But if you want to know how the advanced AI algorithm can actually help people, right, conduct their tasks, and how human can actually interact with the AI systems, then this is the right degree.
Yes.
Right?
So as both of you know, and I know well too, our curriculum is relatively fixed, and I think you've done a great job of explaining why. And at the same time, we are also looking for students to have opportunities to make choices. Mm-hmm. And it may be choices within courses by project, or it might be outside of courses. Can you talk a little bit about where students will be able to make choices within our degree when it comes to either courses or other learning opportunities centered in data science?
Sure. So right now, if you look at our curriculum, you can see that there are capstone courses where there are lots of projects that students can have their own choices. Of course, data science as well, right? And there are a category of courses called data mining, data science application courses, right? The data science application courses are sort of introducing you to the domain that the data science techniques can be applied. And we hope that the data mining, sorry, I keep saying data mining because I'm developing that course like crazy.
You're deep into it, that's
yes.
right.
The data science application course will unlock a category of data science projects that you can work as your capstone. And right now we have 3 of them, right? So students can actually choose from 3 of them. And in the near future, we'll have more of those. We can imagine that we could have sports analytics, right? We will have learning analytics, right? We will probably have health informatics. We will probably have political informatics or transportation informatics. And believe me, there are so many faculty members who wanted to input into this program. They're proposing these application courses like crazy. They are also hoping us to create opportunities for electives. For instance, some faculty think that one natural language processing course is not enough. So they wanted to actually add more natural language processing courses into the program. And of course, there will be people adding in social network analytics courses. So at that stage, students can really enjoy selecting from these courses.
Absolutely.
I think co-curricular activities is another opportunity to get involved, and we're shaping that out, and part of that will depend a lot on what the students are interested in for that. But things that we've done on campus, for instance, are the Ann Arbor Data Dive, where we've brought in data from kind of various organizations and had student groups build things out. And you don't get a university credit for this, but it's another piece that you can put on the portfolio and another thing you can show potential employers. Research experience. So I run a research lab of 5 PhD students that looks at learning analytics, so how people learn in these kinds of systems. And I probably have every semester half a dozen master's students involved in that in some capacity. And I would love for MAD students, because it's learning analytics, to be involved in that as well. And I think we have 80 faculty here now and covering a gamut of domains. So I do think that there's a lot of co-curricular activities, and I would encourage students who have been admitted or even who are just thinking of applying to go look at our list of faculty, look what they do as far as research, and see what looks interesting, because I expect a number will be really keen to have students involved in their labs.
And moreover, if we talk about Michigan as a larger contest, right, there are 97 programs in Michigan that are ranked among the top 10 in the United States. So as the Michigan student, you actually have the opportunities to reach out to professors, to researchers all over the campus who are working on, let's say, biology, who are working on neuroscience, who are working on robots, right, smart AI or whatever, right? You have the opportunity to actually talk to them and identify the interest of how to actually combine these domain tasks, resources to your data science training.
That's great. Some of our folks are wondering about where they will access those opportunities, and as Chris indicated, that's still something that we're working out, but do know that we are deeply committed to ensuring that students generally, but specifically MAD students, have access. So one of the things, for example, that the three of us talk often about is around how to ensure that MAD students are full UMSI students and part of our community. And one critical component to that is giving students access to co-curricular activities, giving them access to live streamed events in an instance where they don't live geographically close, giving them access to our career development office and resources, and giving them access to academic advising. And in fact, someone did inquire about whether or not we would have academic advising or how an advisor would be assigned. And although we're still finalizing the details, we can all share that academic advising, career advising, research opportunities, co-curricular learning, that these are all things that will be baked into the degree and all things that MAD students will have full access to like any other UMSI student. So one of the questions that we got was around the trajectory of courses. So simply how many credits will be offered a month and how long the courses are. So can you two just talk a little bit about the logistics of the model that we're using and maybe too why we're using that model?
Sure. So this is the 34 credit degree, right? Of course, we won't actually have all the courses ready 1st of September. So faculty members here are working hard to implement all these courses. So as the first cohort, it will take 2 years to finish the program. And when the degree is fully launched, when we have all the courses ready, then you can take as few as 0 courses per month, as more as 3 courses, right, per month. So in that case, you can customize your schedule and finish in either 1 year or 2 years or 3 years or even more.
Sorry, just to cut you off there, Amy. One of the reasons we chose these 1 month courses, 1 credit unit, 1 month courses, was some of the things that we learned out of our experiences in the MOOCs. And we wanted to make this a degree that was flexible for students who might be working part-time and thus not able to relocate here to Ann Arbor. But we also wanted to streamline it a little bit so that people could do it in concentrated chunks and that we would have very little overlap so that we weren't duplicating a lot of work. And so we really wanted to keep this to 34 credit units so that it could be done once we've fully deployed and in 1 year. Because we know that getting a master's degree is a big choice to make. You have to find the right program, and you have to decide how much time you want to spend on that. Our residential master's degree in our school is slightly longer. I think you can do it in 18 months. And that does act as a bit of a barrier for some people. And so we wanted to try and streamline this and make it flexible for people who might be working at the same time.
Just to want to re-emphasize that we're very proud of the design of our curriculum. And there are two major reasons. One is that it's end-to-end, right? And the second is that it's highly modularized, right? So, and this actually distinguishes our curriculum from many of the programs you've seen, including some of our residential programs.
And maybe I'll add to that. This is not us walking into the classroom that we teach on campus with a camera and then just dumping that to a video afterwards. Mm-hmm. And that's very different from, we made this for an online delivery. Mm-hmm. And so we've got the same faculty teaching in it. We've got, well, even more learning design because we've partnered with our colleagues at the Office of Academic Innovation. Mm-hmm. But it's really developed for this online modality and this online platform. And I think that that's one of the things that we're bringing that's unique to this degree, or at least special about it in my eyes.
Oh, I completely agree. And as you can probably sense here, the three of us, and I know others that are deeply involved in launching this degree, are all really enthused and excited about this model. Yes. That it's something that we think is highly responsive to the kinds of students that we want to join us for an online learning experience. So it's a little past 3:30 p.m. and so I want to just take a pause to say welcome to those of you that are joining us at the 3:30 p.m. mark. So for those of you who are just joining us, our first half an hour was exclusive to those who had been conditionally admitted. The next half an hour is open to anyone that's expressed an interest in the Master of Applied Data Science degree program. My name is Amy Homkes-Hayes. I'm the Assistant Director of Academic Program Development in the School of Information, and I am facilitating or moderating today's webinar, and I'm joined by two esteemed colleagues and faculty who I'll let just briefly introduce themselves for those that are just joining us.
Hi, I'm Qiaozhu. I'm a professor of information and am the faculty director of the maths program.
I'm Chris Brooks. I'm an assistant professor here in the School of Information, and I'll be teaching in several of the courses, and one of them in September.
Excellent. So I've gotten a number of questions about the assessment. Some of them are logistical questions that I can answer. Some of them are pedagogical questions around why we chose to have assessments.
Entrance exams?
The entrance assessments, yes. Thank you for clarifying. So that would include, for example, for those of you that are just joining us, we have entrance assessments in both statistics and Python. The statistics is a 1 quiz on basic level statistics. Python is 2 quizzes and kind of what we would say is foundational Python. So I'm hoping that you could talk to us a little bit more about the rationale for our entrance assessments, as well as how we've designed them. So when we talk about foundational Python, for example, what is it that we mean?
Yeah, we're very interested in bringing together people with diverse backgrounds. And when you do that, sometimes it's a bit of a challenge to make sure that everybody understands whether this program is right for them or not. And so we wanted to signal straight up front that we expect some programming knowledge coming in, but we do not expect you to have an undergraduate computer science degree. And so we wanted to just really flag what kind of programming level knowledge we were expecting. We teach 2 different specializations on Coursera where people can practice and get ready for those. One is Chuck Severance's Python for Everyone, and the other one is done by Steve Oney, Paul Resnick, and myself on Python 3. And they're both roughly equivalent to entry-level Python programming skills and should get you ready for those assessments.
Another important factor we look at is the rigor of the program, right? As we stated multiple times, so this is a Michigan degree, right? And there's the Michigan brand that we very much honor, right? And we should to actually get exactly what you need to be the next generation of successful data scientists. So in the program, that you can see that we put lots of thoughts, lots of designs on how to assess the learning objectives. The Proctor exam is one of them, right? So in the capstone course, there will be 2 parts, right? There will be the project that we have already been talking about. There will also be the practical exam, similar to what you have done, but to actually cover, to test, the materials, the knowledge, the points you have learned in upstream courses. For instance, after you have taken the computational, aspects of courses, there will be a practical exam to, test what you have learned from Chris's class or from the other Chris's class.
We have a lot of Chris's.
Oh, we do.
Indeed.
You can't have too many.
That's right.
Keep that in mind.
So some folks are wondering, so we've had lots of folks, for example, who've indicated that they've taken Python 3 and stats with Python and that it's really helped them. And in fact, they're wondering why, for example, we're not offering that as an alternative to taking our proctored entrance assessments. So could you just speak briefly to what our rationale is for requiring that all of our conditionally admitted students take those entrance assessments?
Yeah, I'm going to peel back the curtain a little bit and show you kind of the faculty experience. So when we were talking about launching this degree, people said, this would be the first online degree for our school. Do we want to do that? What does it mean to offer an online degree? How will those students be different from our residential students? And so we intentionally went with something that we thought was rigorous, that required our first cohort to know very much up front what they were going to be doing and what the expectations were. Down the road, we might look at other opportunities for enrolling people that don't have an exam up front. I mean, our residential master's does not have an entrance exam. We still have, of course, a rigorous application process. But I think that part of this was for our comfort, and part of this was to be just very transparent with students about this is, if you are able to pass these, we think you'll be successful here. And I think we're committed to that. I'll say that your Python learning, for instance, and I'm a programmer by background, your Python learning and your stats learning doesn't stop with those exams. So once you get into the University of Michigan program, we have, for instance, something called Coursera for Michigan. And you can take any of the University of Michigan's Coursera courses, first certificate for free. And that's a partnership that we have with Coursera, and another great reason to be a Michigan student. And I think that those are just some of the benefits of being here. We'll have office hours to support people with programming. We'll be on Slack or in shared environments, help desks, and so forth.
And I wanted to add to that, so for any of the exams, either the entrance exam or the exams that you will see in the program, we absolutely have, we're not intending to make any of your life harder. So what we wanted to do is actually to provide opportunity for you to, assess your learning objective by yourself. It's the self-assessment tool. And what our goal is to help you pass these exams. So you can see that in the entrance exams, we're providing lots of materials and help to you. When people take any Python specializations or other trainings, some of them may still want to actually bridge the gap towards a point that you're proud of. And some of you may already have this experience, even if they have not taken any of those specializations, right? So we hope that with this self-assessment tool, that with this entrance exam, we can actually make sure that you are satisfied with what you have learned from whatever sources. Also, we also want to take this as an opportunity to introduce you to the world of how to get jobs in this world, right?
Yeah, it's a very common afterwards. So when you're applying for jobs, to have to do these kinds of exams, and so getting used to that environment and getting used to the technology, the Coursera environment, and so forth, I think is good. Also, don't be shy to share your feedback. We're learning and growing through this process. So, if you found some of the exams overly difficult or off topic, or just have general thoughts on improvements for them, very much interested in your feedback.
Exactly. We want to help you succeed.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
So I thought that those was a really thorough explanation of our rationale for offering and asking that all of our conditionally admitted applicants take them. And to your very good point, we are also at the same time reassuring folks that if you're still taking the assessments, and we have people joining us today that we're giving you multiple attempts to pass them, that we're here for you along the way. So in an instance where you don't, you're more than welcome to email us so we can help and support you. And in an instance where you need more time to take the assessments, we can offer you more time. So we know, for example, that due to full-time work schedules, vacation schedules, other life events, that we've had a handful of folks who have asked for extensions for very good reasons, and we're happy to work with you on offering an extension and should you need one. So we would rather have you communicate with us, whatever the concern is or whatever you need, so we can support and help you in order to facilitate you passing those assessments, while still, to Qiaozhu and Chris's really good point, maintaining kind of the rigor and expectation that when you come in, we are all on the same page about what we mean when we say foundational Python, or what we mean when we say basic statistics, for example. That's excellent. So as most, or if not all of you that are joining us know, we are hosting this degree on Coursera, and we are getting some questions about the mechanics of the degree itself. So when we say hosting a degree on Coursera, what are some of the major components that students would expect to see, and what are the technologies or the tools that we're using to communicate with them within and outside of the Coursera platform?
Yeah, so every course will have a Coursera presence. It will be exclusive for students inside the MADS program. So these are not MOOCs. They're not open to the world. They're only for you in the MADS program. You'll be able to use Jupyter Notebooks. That's one big piece through a portion of Coursera called Coursera Labs. So you'll have a programming environment right within the Coursera environment. We're looking at having tools like Piazza for question answering, very popular plugin. Slack for communications within your cohort, within courses, and I think we'll find lots of cool ways to use Slack, actually. I'm hoping research labs will have a place on Slack, and student services and so forth. And the Slack that we have is the full version of Slack, so it allows video calling within channels and video calling within groups, and building Slack bots, which I hope that one of our NLP classes might tackle as well. Well, I'm not teaching it, so it's easy to hope for that. And Zoom, we'll be using Zoom for video communications as well. So office hours, for instance, for my course in September will be held primarily through Zoom, which allows for me to be presenting, working through some work, or a course assistant to be doing this, and to be getting feedback from students and new questions. Of course, being linked into the broader University of Michigan ecosystem means that you'll have Michigan Mail, which is handled by Gmail, and Google Docs and Google Drive with kind of minimal limits on those. You'll have access to the library services, including online books. So I know for many of our courses, including mine, we're looking to make sure that that's all very prominent within the course shell, how you actually get to the library and get a digital copy of the book. And so there will be a number of other technologies that aren't unique to this course, but are a benefit of being in a Michigan course.
So we have a number of questions that are related to timelines. So for example, one or more of our conditionally admitted folks or folks that are interested in joining our program, one, they want to know when do classes start? And all three of us are definitely feeling the pressure of that timeline, because classes start on Tuesday, September 3rd. And so they start right when our residential classes start for the fall 2019 semester. And we're excited to get going that day. The lectures on Coursera largely will be pre-recorded, but what I'm hearing Chris say is that in addition, you will have an instructor of record, a faculty who is a UMSI full faculty who's teaching the course or acting as the person doing live office hours, in addition to an instructional team of folks that will also be available, for example, to answer questions. Qiaozhu, can you tell us a little bit about who else we're hiring or how we're kind of constructing the instructional support team for MAD students?
Sure. So there are I think there are at least 3 roles you will actually encounter when you're taking the course. You will see the face of one of us in the videos, and these are faculty members who have created the course content. And these are full-time co-faculty of U of NSI, right? These are the world experts in the material of courses. And then every course, when you're taking it, there will be the instructor of record who will be interacting with you, who will be governing the course content, making changes, right? Making new assignments, and then addressing your questions. There will be another type of person called course instructional aid,
Yes.
CIAs,
Yes.
right? They will be assisting the instructor of record, and they will be directly interacting with you through Slack channels, through live office hours, trying to help you, understanding the courses. So they are functioning as either teaching assistants or secondary instructors. So they are a team that works to deliver knowledge to you, and we really want you to get the most from the courses.
That's excellent. And of course, that's not or I should say, in addition, we will also, as we indicated earlier, have folks within the School of Information that do things like academic advising, career advising and coaching, engaged learning. So there's lots of people, for example, that you may ultimately be exposed to as a math student. Now that said, we are and do get the question quite often about whether or not math students are able to take non-maths courses. So can you talk a little bit about where we are today and where we hope to be in the future on the kinds of the where and kind of the what courses math students can and cannot take?
Well, sure. Well, I think it's very nice that you're asking this question. The question that we receive a lot from our programs is that can residential students take the math courses, right? Because they really want you to take math courses.
That is really
right.
true, yes.
So, well, first of all, as the Michigan student, right, you have all the opportunities like other UMich students. There are certain UMich courses that are online, right? And then you can definitely take them.
Yeah.
For the courses that are taught in classrooms, right? If you are on campus, there are ways to sit in the classes, right? Like auditing and such. But in the long run, you can probably take courses like from other online programs, in UMich, right? But right now, right, there's
very few even available. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest, part of that's the streamlined degree plan. We wanted to make sure that it was accessible to people to get done within a year, and so part of that is that streamlined nature. As Qiaozhu said, we get actually residential students are interested in taking the online classes, and we've decided for our first couple of rounds of this not to allow that. This is the School of Information's our first fully online master's degree, and we want to give you our undivided attention and make it just sing. And I think that's part of it. Something that's important to me is co-curricular opportunities, and I know that's important to our school. And so we're going to be working at building that out over the next couple of years. I've been at Michigan now 6 years this fall, and the amount of amazing speakers that come here and give seminars is just phenomenal. And I want to help bring those to you and make sure that you're getting that kind of co-curricular learning experience as well. Just based on the overwhelming response we've already had with this program, I'm quite confident that it's not just one little online program on the side, and that we'll be doing lots more online, and that it'll become a part of our DNA.
Absolutely. So I really appreciate your point, and that is that we recognize why residential students would want to take math courses, why math students would want to take residential courses or other online courses. And at this point, the Michigan infrastructure really isn't fully developed in a way that supports that or easily supports that. And so although for now it might not be likely that you can do that in a very easy way, or a way that enables you to kind of do it for credit courses towards the degree. In perpetuity, we would like to see more flexibility or an approach that we could do that. And that may mean that we are advocating as UMSI to the larger institution around how to build an infrastructure that supports that. Absolutely. I'm going to take a brief moment just to address questions that have been coming in about deadlines and when decisions will be communicated. So, for example, we still have a handful of number of folks that are joining us who are awaiting their admissions decision. I am sorry that you are still awaiting your admissions decision. We recognize that people are very anxious to hear, and so I do apologize that that's not something that we've been able to communicate to all of our folks who have applied. In part, that's because the volume of our applications was very large, and we had multiple application deadlines, and we read applications based on kind of when people had applied. So do know that we're still actively reviewing applications. We spend a lot of time doing that. In fact, if our Associate Director of Admissions were here, she would be echoing the sentiment that our firm commitment is to get this done as quickly as possible. So in an instance where you're still waiting for that, please know it's coming, and you are also always welcome to email us to get an update that way. We also have folks that are wondering about scholarships and financial aid decisions. So one of the things that we've communicated from the very beginning is that we do have a number of scholarship opportunities available, and that we'd like to give scholarships to lots of our conditionally admitted folks. So according to our admissions team, those decisions should be communicated imminently. So they've indicated that they've made great progress in assigning kind of scholarship decisions to folks that have been conditionally admitted, and that they are planning on communicating those decisions very soon. So I would anticipate within the next week or two, for example. So I did want to give those updates. In an instance where you're still waiting on an admissions decision, please know that that is coming very soon. If you're waiting on a scholarship decision, for example, that is also coming very soon. I wish I could give you more specific dates. Unfortunately, I don't have them, but I can tell you that we're diligently working to ensure that all of the admissions decisions, in addition to all of the scholarship decisions, are being communicated to folks as quickly as we can. So relatedly, people are asking about what our expectations are for this first conditionally admitted class. In other words, how many people do we expect or anticipate joining us? What are your thoughts about how many students we might be prepared to teach starting in September?
Wow.
It's a moving target.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I'll peel back a little bit more of the curtain here. This week I have 3 filming sessions in the studio for my data manipulation course, and I've been actively building out what the office hours might look like. One of the interesting things is because of the way that that course in particular is doing the assignments, we have a lot of auto grading with a very little bit of hand grading. And so it can actually support up, 100 students in the course with relative ease. And I think on campus we might have, for a course like this, data manipulation, we might have in that neighborhood of 100, 120, something like that. The Slack channels, will be exciting. They'll be busy. The video platform, of course, scales very well. And so I think for our program, 100 students would be, a great first cohort. That's just my thoughts. Now, Paul's course, Paul Resnick's course, is a little bit more involved on the grading side. I know he's going to have some late nights, so go easy on him, because there's essentially like a short form essay writing. I'll say, essay is probably the wrong word, but it's more English writing in that course than programming. And so I know they're looking at how quickly they can scale the army of course instructional aides who can do that. And that's, again, something that distinguishes this experience on Coursera from maybe the other Coursera experiences you've had, whether they be in our courses or others. In those MOOCs, everything has to be auto-grading or peer grading. Here, we think of not peer grading, but peer interaction. So you might be asked to look at other people's work and give comments on it. We do that in the classroom all the time. But the grading is really, the focus is coming from those of us who we know have expertise and that can provide that credentialed result coming out.
So I think in the long run that such the excellent program could actually scale up very well. But our goal is never the quantity, but the quality, right? We care about whether we can actually find the right people and whether we are providing the right curriculum to you. We want to help you to succeed. We want to actually make sure that you gain the benefits from this program, that you can actually make the much better career after this.
I think just to leverage off that, so again, being here for 6 years, I've really seen how the school's investment is in the students and in helping them succeed. So if you go on our website, I think that there's information about our other programs and the success of those students from those programs, and that's what we want for this program as well. And this, again, just to give you a glimpse inside my life as a faculty member, this is something we talked about when we talked about whether we wanted to offer this kind of program. Can we help make people successful? Will we be proud of our numbers as far as success? And that really does drive our admissions decisions, our resourcing decisions, and our pedagogy for the program.
So there's a couple things here that I think are really important to highlight again around how we're reaching decisions about cohort size. Certainly we can respect the curiosity about, how many classmates might I have in this first cohort? And as I indicated earlier, our application volume is quite large. That being said, we're a brand new program, so we're still figuring out a lot of things. So we could anticipate some fluctuation from anywhere between 100 to 200 students maybe in the fall, depending on kind of how things fall out. But at the same time, what I'm also hearing us all say is that we're really committed to quality over quantity, and we're really committed to scaling over time. So in an instance where, for example, you're someone that's joining us that says, well, I can't start in September 2019, but I'd love to start in September 2020, for example, that we're telling you that that's highly feasible because we're in this for the long game. And so we anticipate a future where we're running multiple admission cycles and really ensuring that we meet those scale objectives or the demand that the degree may have. So to that end, someone has inquired, in fact, about when our next application will open, and it is likely that the next application will open in September 2019 for a September 2020 launch, just as an FYI. So it is, again, highly likely that you will be able to start accessing the application for MADS admission in September 2019 for a September 2020 launch, or I should say another kind of cycle starting in September 2020. So as we've been asking and answering questions about the program, I have a couple of questions, one in particular that seems very apropos for two software developers, programmers in addition to data scientists and esteemed faculty. And this is Mac versus Windows versus Linux. So which operating system should folks use for the degree?
I mean, it seems obvious. I run Ubuntu on my desktop. No, I think that the
Linux joke for those of you.
Yeah, for those. That technology choice isn't so important. So you can use which of the out of those that you're comfortable with. There are some technology requirements. I mean, you need to have a webcam and fast internet access, and you need to be in a place where you can, of course, study and watch in uninterrupted activity, where you can do the assignments. Lots of the assignments are really, we plan to help facilitate these through a Jupyter Hub instance that we run, which means you can do them in a web browser. You can actually kind of write your code right there. Of course, you could do it all on your local machine as well, and any modern Windows, Mac, or Linux machine would be fine.
That's one of the reasons that we choose to partner with Coursera.
That absolutely is.
To make this choice simple.
And we really want to support that diversity of experience. I would say it becomes ill-advised and maybe, I don't want to say not possible, but ill-advised to be trying to do the whole thing on a Chromebook or on an iPad. I mean, to me, that's just an exciting technical challenge. It might be quite possible, but there's, programming on an iPad is pretty limited, and you end up buying enough accessories to turn it into a computer anyway. So, yeah.
So as we near the hour, I was hoping that you could share some parting words with the folks that have joined us today. So as we wrap up, what do you want people to know that perhaps they haven't asked or that we haven't answered as they either finish pursuing their admission process into the MADS program or decide to apply to the MADS program?
Well, just want to restate that, the passion, you can see that not just from us three, right? We have a large group of faculty who have, strong passion. They're very passionate about doing this degree, to make this degree, historically, the first, one of the first online master degrees in UMich, right? So what we really care about is to define the future of education. And what we care even more is how to actually define the future with you, right? So we don't own the degree, you own the degree, right? So we want you to shape the degree with us, right? At the end of the day, in 10 years, in 20 years, we want you to speak for this degree then. So this is the success.
I think that just to echo what Qiaozhu said, one of the slogans here at the School of Information is information changes everything. And that by being involved in this degree, being involved with us, it will change you, you'll change us, and together we'll change the world and make it into a better place. And that comes in many different forms. It can come from technological innovation, social innovation, public policy, but we really are invested in the success of our students. It's a lifetime commitment. It's a family. Just to share, I was out in Vancouver in Canada about 3 weeks ago, and I was going for a run, and I was wearing a maize shirt that said Michigan on it. And as I was running, I had 3 people, different parts of the run, say, "Go Blue," as I walked by. And Michigan has a huge alumni base, and we care about that. For us to be able to put a program up, not only do we have to pass our faculty governance and our local governance, but our provost has to say this reflects the ideals of the U.S. is one of our #1 public universities. And we believe this program does, and we're looking forward to helping shape it with you.
Well, those are deeply inspiring words. And so I want to thank everyone for joining us today. In an instance where you are still waiting on a decision, or if there was a question that you posed that unfortunately we did not get to, I strongly encourage and welcome you to email us at umsi.mads@umich.edu. So we're happy to answer any and all questions about when things are due or when you'll hear from us. And otherwise, we are deeply excited about joining many of you in fall when we kick off our fall semester on Tuesday, September 3rd. Thanks so much for joining us.
So we are one of the top universities in the world. We're one of the top 2 public universities in the United States. This is the full Block M. You're getting the full deal here. And the only difference is you won't necessarily be able to go to all 7 home football games. Graduates of this degree are fully vested members of our alumni community, removing the constraint of having to travel and live in Ann Arbor. It's just not practical for a vast population of potential students, but still being able to benefit from that world-class expertise is an incredible thing.
I think that what's exciting about data science right now is that it can be used across sectors. So whether you are interested in healthcare or education or work with Silicon Valley companies, all of those areas can be informed by data. And that's part of why when we're dealing with high stakes areas like healthcare and education, that ethical use of data becomes so important, and our care to make sure that we aren't biased is important.
Hello, Chuck here. We're in Milan, Italy. Hello, Chuck here. We are here in Paris, France. Well, hello. We are at Bletchley Park. Here we are in Orlando. Here we are in
So my name is Charles Severance. I am a clinical professor at the University of Michigan School of Information. I am now, by far, the most dominant Python class in the whole world, touching over 2 million lives. And you might say, why is that? Well, I claim it's because of the assessments. If you end up doing my homework for 2 hours, you're doing the job you're supposed to eventually do. I mean, my homework is job-ready skills, right? I mean, I don't have homework that is a waste of time just so I can make it hard for you. So I hope that when you participate in this new master's online degree, that you are as excited as I am. I'm excited to be part of it. I'm excited to see something that I consider completely next generation in terms of approach to teaching. So I really hope that someday we meet and someday you can tell me what you think of this particular experience and to see if you saw it as wonderful as I believe that it's going to be. Go Blue.
The maths program provides the rigorous and innovative curriculum to all the students who are interested in becoming an applied data scientist. You will leave here with the portfolio that proves that you can do end-to-end applied data science, and you can apply these techniques you have learned to real-world problems. And we're super excited to meet with you, to work with you, and to collaborate with you. Go Blue!